So my next guest knows all about these accounts, so please welcome to the show Mr. America's accountant, Mr. Dan Geltrude. Dan, thanks for coming on the show. Great to be back in the saddle again today. I kind of let it out towards the end of that whole thing, but I think the most important thing here is empowering the account holder and educating them so we can get out of this mess we call Social Security. What say you?
Well, Scott, I think there are positives and I'm not going to say negatives, but some concerns. So if we focus in initially here on the positives, I do agree with you in terms of this is not a welfare thing here. This is about wealth building. This is about teaching our young people about capitalism and the benefits of capitalism. You know, it also turns our children into owners of the American economy. And these are very, very positive things. I don't think we do enough for our young people, Scott, to teach them about how money works. So this is a seed, starting off as a seed, right, in terms of the federal government putting in that initial $1,000, gets them involved in terms of watching their money, managing that money, putting more money in when they start working. So in that regard, it's a great thing. Now, if you give me 1 second here, I'm just going to go in the area of concern for me. The primary area of concern here is this becomes another government type program where it starts to grow and grow and grow into other things. So if we're starting this type of fund for young people, well, why don't we start a fund for this cause and that cause and that cause? And then it ends up becoming a big drain on tax-paying Americans.
Well, that's a valid concern. I'll give you that. But I'd also say, don't go borrowing trouble just yet, Mr. Geltrude. I mean, the bad stuff hasn't happened yet. So maybe that's the case. But I see that. I agree with you. But I do think, for instance, I'll give you a little bit of an anecdotal story here. Obviously, I was off last week, so I'm out and about talking to a lot of people and everything. All they want to do is talk about the markets and money and I obviously acquiesce and I do. But I had a 40-year-old operations manager. He's got a great job, runs a decent-sized construction company. And, intelligent people, but they always say to me, you know what, the whole stock thing and trading and investments, I just don't get it. I don't understand. I don't like it. I don't like doing it, and we don't teach enough of it to these people when they're in high school and not even in college. I didn't have it in college myself, and I was a finance major. I think this is going to go a long way, though, of maybe empowering these people to watch the stock market and watch the stock. I've seen people suddenly get turned on by stuff like this over the years, right? You've probably seen that as well. And then they get interested in the markets, and all of a sudden they take a liking and they're off and running. I think because of this nightmare that we call Social Security, in order to get out of that problem and empower the individual, this could be a great way of doing it with this education. I do know that when Bush, I think it was, wanted to kind of privatize Social Security and let everybody else be in charge of it, I understand the negatives there because people would blow the money and be back on the government, anyway. But if you look at what the market did from when he came up with that idea till today, if somebody was diligent and did what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't have a Social Security problem. There was a lot of money to be made over those last 20, 30 years, however long it was before when he came up with the idea. So I don't know. I look at this from an education thing really the most. I think it's going to be good to give empower these people with the knowledge so that, what is it? Give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life. I think that we're going to be teaching a lot of people to fish. What say you?
Well, I do agree with you that this is an opportunity to be able to provide financial literacy to a lot of people. And of course, that's a very, very positive thing. So I think this program in and of itself, Scott, is a good thing. And my concern here is just that it becomes another typical government program, and it starts to branch off into things that were not the original intention. when you're talking about the original intention here of teaching young people the power of compounding interest and investing and how much benefit they can get in retirement, and especially because it's tax deferred. So it gives people a little bit of that introduction into the power of deferring taxes and managing your money in that regard. Meaning you take money out, you have to pay tax, but if you allow it to grow, that money continues to get bigger and bigger. So all those things are very positive. And by the way, it's not just for retirement. It can be used similar to a 529 in terms of taking it out to use for college education. You could also take it out for home buying in the future. Although you do want to emphasize, if you don't have to take it, don't. Let it grow. And I think that's the greatest lesson that these Trump accounts can do, to see how the stock market can work for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then having this week off, it's been able to, I've been able to step back and take a kind of a macro look at things. We'll end on this, Dan, is that, you've got one side of the aisle that's trying to empower and educate the young investor so that maybe we can get out of a problem with which I call Social Security, or at least empower them to show them how to make money and give them that ability to do that. And then the other side of the aisle that is punishing people that do well and make a lot of money with these wealth taxes and stealing from the folks that have done very well and provided a lot of people with jobs in this country. Two very different ways of looking at things, and I think this is a great one to see which each side of the aisle lands on. I think it's a good way to look at it. All right. Great to have you on. Great to have you back. You made my week. Thanks for coming on, Dan. Always love what you have to say. Dan Geltrude coming to us from Clifton, New Jersey. I almost said Nutley that time. Dan Geltrude, America's accountant. We'll see you again next week, brother. Thanks for being on the show. All right. See ya.